And you mentioned the Pete Hegseth confirmation. What do you expect on that front? It was a narrow margin. Doesn't matter. He has been sworn in, and this is the Defence Secretary that Richard Marles and our government will need to work closely with.
Yes, and I have no doubt the new Defence Secretary will be working out of his way to get along with allies. The most narrow margin possible in terms of confirmation, with a vice presidential vote being required to break the tie. That doesn't happen very often. It happened when Mike Pence was vice president in a similar circumstance to bring on someone for the cabinet. But I think that will increase the pressure on Mr. Hegseth to play a very straight bat in terms of the allies, and not to pursue some of the more extraordinary positions he's advanced over the years, where comments on, say, women in combat have been attributed to him. So there'll be a great deal of scrutiny in the defence and national security area on the incoming Secretary of Defence, particularly at a time when there are open conflicts raging in different parts of the world, from Ukraine and the Middle East to Africa.
When we look at the inauguration now, as we said, a week on, just finally, I know you've been reflecting on some of the historical moments at that inauguration, going back to, Lincoln 1865. I know you were talking to me about that, the second inaugural, and some closer in terms of the history of the United States with Barack Obama, and a bit of a gaffe back in 2009.
Just a bit of a stumble. If we go back to 1865, most people with an interest in US history will recall Lincoln's splendid address, with malice toward none, with charity toward all. But the photographs revealed something of a different story, in the sense that if you look carefully in the crowd, you see the president there at the rostrum, but if you look carefully in the crowd, you can see a gentleman by the name of John Wilkes Booth there listening to the president. Now, the background is the United States Army, fearful of an assassination attempt, had troops just about everywhere that day in Washington. And if Booth was planning to murder the president that day, he was disappointed. A few days later, of course, he and another group of Confederate sympathisers were successful. So the history is there, literally on the plate. In terms of Chief Justice John Roberts swearing in from memory Barack Obama, the Chief Justice mucked up the oath of office. And while President Obama dutifully followed on from the principal jurist's words, it was discovered, obviously, that this was inadequate and incomplete. So the Justice Roberts had to go to the White House later that same day and deliver the oath of office, and President Obama duly obliged. It's just one of those wrinkles of history. But that illustrates how important the day is to Americans and to the American Republic.